Discover the innovation, experience the engineering, feel the force, go the distance, take the advantage. Let's see. Hello and welcome again. What are the topics we'll be discussing today? It's these over here. Force. Now, you're welcome to skip to any of them bits, and you're welcome to watch the whole video. Let's get started on the price. For you to own this piece of equipment, this MagShift shifter, it's actually going to cost you 450 euros. Yes, you heard that right. And if you're buying it in stateside in the US of A's, you're going to be paying $445 for one of this. So this is an absolute premium product, especially when it comes to a sequential shifter. For that money, you get very good shifters that are H-pattern shifters and a sequential shifter combined. So for this to be just a dedicated sequential shifter with 3 buttons at the bottom, you know, you are obviously expecting this thing to be wow. So yeah, let's have a look. Is it worth the dough? Looks, I say it every single week. What I think is, you might think, it's not that nice, because looks are subjective, okay? Anyway, my thoughts on this product here, the MagShift from Heusinkveld, is I think they could have made it look a little bit better. This here does not scream out to me like this mecha shifter is something I can imagine coming straight out of a race car or a drift car. Whereas this over here, I cannot imagine it in a car. Now I'm fully aware that we're driving simulators and every product we buy does not have to resemble something that comes out of a car. So, you know, obviously they focus heavily on how this functions, and they say the click and how you can feel the gears. So we're going to test that. And you know, in real cars you don't get little buttons underneath your sequential shifter. So it is a product made for the sim market. As for the looks, it's nice. They've got some grey, you know, some grey charcoalish blacks here to, you know, separate it from the silver, the aluminium. In my opinion, I think they could tidy the screws. You know, Heusinkveld always has screws and holes in their products that, in my opinion, just makes it not look that nice. I think it would have been a lot tidier if these were like countersunk screws, and this was just, in my opinion, you know, all these little screws here were just smooth. But it's not a deal breaker at all. In fact, I think if you actually own the handbrake from Heusinkveld, I actually think it makes quite a handsome pair. You know, if you mount these next to one another, they actually don't look bad. They do obviously complement one another. Same as with this handbrake here, you are not able to change the handle, and I don't like that. I would have loved to have the option to unscrew a handle and put something that I prefer on there. Because I'll be honest with you, this handle here, in my opinion, this hard plastic, and yeah, I just would have preferred something that's round. Something like this. Now I'm fully aware that this is a handbrake and not a sequential shifter, but I just want to show you the handle. I personally think if this was fitted on here, I think, ooh, would have been aesthetically so much better. And I just myself prefer something round to grab onto. Obviously it's not a deal breaker, you know. I don't think that I'll be comparing this shifter today to this mecha one. I don't actually think the shifter looks as good as what this mecha one does. This to me looks like it comes out of a race car. But yeah. Let's quickly discuss build quality. Now, this is a Heusinkveld product. Heusinkveld products, doesn't matter what product you buy from them, is always a high quality item and something that you can be assured of will be lasting years and years. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you watching here has owned Heusinkveld pedals. Some of them pedals I'm sure are 6-7 years old and they are still working like they came out of the box yesterday. Now, imagine you are driving, and this happens, trust me. You are driving, and here comes a guy, you see him in your mirror, and he proper dive bombs you, and you in the gravel, and you're like, ah! Your mother lets you on the Wi-Fi with that dive bomb! You know, and you are then shifting like this. You like, for 10 minutes after that, the shifter is taking the abuse. Everything you want to take out on the guy that just shoved you off the road, you are taking out on the shifter. And you want to be able to do so. And you want to know that doesn't matter how heavy-handed you are with this sequential shifter, it's going to take the force and everything you throw at it. And I'm glad to say that I can tell, from touching this thing and just the way it works and how I've used it briefly. It doesn't matter how heavy-handed you're going to be with this. Yeah, it's going to last the time. Even the buttons. I mean, the buttons, I can tell. Listen to that. A very, very satisfying click to them. So yeah, the only thing I can say about build quality, which I would have wanted that little bit better, is this plastic handle. I'm not very keen on this, and I think even something that would have been like maybe a hard rubber or something, I think personally would have been better. But besides for that, Heusinkveld always, when it comes to build quality, is top tier. And yeah, you're paying for that top tierness. So yeah, build quality is mamma mia. Mounting and adjustability. Mounting this to an aluminium profile rig cannot be easier. They provide you with this bracket. Now this bracket is very nice. You're going to start with putting this on your aluminium profile. You'll put in your screws and then you can adjust the angle. Very, very nice. Then after that you will attach your handbrake, and then you've got these slots here. You can see there's 3 holes on on either side, and you can also adjust the tilt how you like it. Now with this bracket here, if you actually got this fitted on here, this is actually a very nice tall handbrake, and I like that. That's one of the things that's it's a deal breaker for me. It's one of the big reasons I didn't buy Heusinkveld's other shifter, is the fact that it's short and stubby. I get to play with short and stubby every night, so I don't want that. Okay, it's not short and stubby, it's just short. But you know what I mean. So I like my shifters taller, something that's longer, and this definitely ticks that box. It's one of the longer shifters on the market, and you get that extra inch if you decide to mount it on the top screws, and obviously you can take it down that a little bit lower. What are the features in this MagShift shifter? Now, as the name suggests, MagShift, it's magnets that are in there. Now, that's very good because all the electronics are actually contactless sensors, and there's no wear or tear on any of your electronic parts, which means you can shift this thing a gazillion times and it should be just okay, just perfecto. This is a GT style shifter, so it's a lot taller than what your normal shifters say would be, and that's nice. I always like to have a tall sequential shifter. I think that's the way they should be, rather than this short sequential shifters that just reminds me of being in an arcade and playing in a Sega game. But anyway, so I like a tall one. If you're using your bracket that is provided and you put it on the top configuration, so you get that little bit extra, that inch that we all so desperately crave for. One of the biggest things that sold me on this shifter was the fact that you can independently change the pressure or force that is required to pull or push this shifter in any particular direction. Now what I mean by that is, if you say for example want your downshift, which is pushing in my case, to be nice and soft, you can make that soft, and then on your upshift, which for me is pulling, and in 90% of all cars that is normally the way it works, you want this maybe nice and stiff, so the pulling would be quite firm, but the shifting down would be quite weak, and you can do it quicker or easier. So I thought that would be a very, very big feature for me. But what I find is that I'm running both my downshift and my upshift at the maximum force, because even at its absolute maximum force, I feel like it just needs that little bit more. It does not come close in comparisons to other sequential shifters I used. I think even at the absolute maximum, it does not require a lot of pressure whatsoever to pull or push this. And I think at the max, I can tell you now, when this thing is mounted down, I could literally use my pinky to upshift or downshift, you know. And yeah, I would have liked it more. When I contacted Heusinkveld and I asked them, in kilograms, can you tell me a figure? They said, listen, it's between 2.5 and 7 kgs is the amount of pressure you need to pull or push this shifter. Now, that might be the case, but I think that's a little bit misleading, because the way I see it is in here, at the contact points where the magnets are, I'm sure, yes, it probably at the max is 7 kgs, because if I lower my grip and I'm trying to shift from this angle here, I need a lot more force than what I would need from over here. So you can imagine yourself, imagine changing your car tire. You know, you want to put a brand new spanking set of bronze alloys on your white car. You can use your ratchet, and the ratchet is yay big, and you can use all the force you want. You're not going to break that lug nut loose. But then you get yourself a breaker bar, or you put a pipe over your ratchet, and simsalabim, the lug nut is no resistance whatsoever, and it's easy to break it loose. That's the same thing over here. Once you add a bit of leverage, this here, I can tell you now, that there is not 7 kilos of force. So yeah, I do think that's a little bit misleading. And funny enough, this mecha shifter I've got over here, they say this is between 2, so not 2.5 like this, but 2 and 7 kgs worth of force. And this is at the moment set to half its capacity. So 3.5 kilos is what this is at. And this requires more force and pressure for me to use a shifter than this one at its absolute max setting. So this thing here, when pushing or pulling, I require a lot more force. And it's not even close to maxing out to the 7 kgs that you can load onto it. Whereas this, I've got set to the absolute max. And I just feel like it's not enough. I would have wanted it a bit stronger. Now, I don't know if it's possible to make it stronger with magnets. But yeah, in my opinion, I think it needs that little bit more. A little bit. I would want it at least twice as strong with when I'm pulling. And the downshifts, I would say I'm happy with the way it is. But just in my opinion, I think I'd like to pull it a little bit harder if I could. Anyway, the button box. You get 3 buttons with this shifter. That obviously sets it apart to most other sequential shifters on the market. And like I said before, I quite like these buttons. They've got a very nice satisfying click to it. What is very clever, at the moment this thing has 5 inputs as you see it here. You've got 1, 2, 3 buttons, and then you've got your pull and you've got your push. So that is 5 inputs. However, if you use Heusinkveld Smart software, you can double that and make it 10 inputs. 10! Yes, 10. Now the way you do that is you use a smart software, and this button, instead of a short press like that, you can actually use it as a long press, and that would be a separate input. So right out of the bat, what I think is fantastic is if you are using push to talk. Push to talk, you're going to hold the button in, and you're going to, what the hell are you doing, guy? Your grandma's, I can't think of something now. I've had a long day. But, you know what I mean. So you can hold it in, and you can do your push to talk. However, if you then just want to use this as a pit limiter, pit limiter on, pit limiter off. Hold it in. Now your mic is active. Very handy. That's the same for entering and exiting the car. When you are resetting your car to go into the pits, normally you have to hold your input. So you can hold this button, and then very nice, you reset to the pits. However, you might just use that button to flash your lights, or whatever other thing you can think of, which is I think very nice. And I actually think a lot of other button boxes should follow suit. It's very nice that you can have a button that has essentially is 2 buttons in one and has dual functionality. Yeah, I really like that. Fantastic Heusinkveld. According to Heusinkveld, using this shifter you can feel the gears click into place. Now listen here, I can definitely feel a click. I personally would not go as far as to say you can feel the gears clicking into place. In fact, the best way I can describe it is when you're actually pulling on a shifter or pushing it, there's no, at this stage, at this moment, you've had zero sensation. It just feels like you're pulling on a stick with a spring at the bottom. It is actually on this stage when you're releasing it, and there, you hear that click, it just goes click, and it's actually that they are referring to, the gears clicking into place. However, this is not something that I would, it just feels like it abruptly stops, you know, in its original position. I would not go as far as to say, you know, you can feel the actual gears clicking into place. I do think that's a little bit of sales talk, and yeah, definitely. You know, they're saying 2-stage. Yeah, I mean, you're pushing it back. It is 2 stages. But as for the feeling, you know, I would not say that is, you know, that you can feel the gears clicking into place. And that's a pity, because for 450 euros, I was really, really expecting, you know, to feel something. Now, I actually have used one of the SimLabs ones that's got a screen on it, and it's like super loud. That thing there feels really, really good if you're talking about the feeling of the shift. However, it's very, very loud. This one, on the other hand, is not that loud, and it actually has a very, very nice click to it, as you can hear when you're shifting. So this is not super loud when it comes to sequential shifters, and even when I'm hitting this thing quite hard on the downshifts and, you know, pulling quite hard, it is not overly loud, which is very good if you are, you know, I would not say, don't get me wrong, if someone is directly outside the room or in a room adjacent to the one you are using, they very well could still hear it. However, I've been using it flat out for a month, and my wife sleeps right, like, I mean, right underneath me. And in the UK here, it's not that we've got cement floors here on the floors. It's actually made out of wood. So you would think that she would come up here and complain, and she's not done so once. So when it comes to the sound, I think it is actually quite nice. The only thing that I can say about the sound is sometimes there's like a squeak. I find it is only when I've got it set to its max setting, and I actually think most people will probably be running this at its max setting, and there's definitely like a squeak. You hear that? And that's both ways, whether you're pushing or pulling. And really, I think for something at this price range, things like that, you should not have little squeaks. Yeah. So overall sound, I think, is good. I myself don't hear the squeak. I only noticed that because I was actually disassembling this for the review. I use headphones, so if you're using headphones, honestly, it's not going to bother you whatsoever. It might just bother someone, you know, if they're in the same room with you, but that's the extent of it. Okay, what are my final thoughts about this Heusinkveld MagShift Shifter? Listen here, you know, I try my very, very best as a reviewer to always give you my honest opinion about every single product that I put through the test and put on this table. And yeah, you know, sometimes that means actually not recommending a product to you, the viewers. And I want to be very, very clear from the start that, listen here, this is a very, very well built unit, this MagShift Shifter, and if you did buy it, you're going to have hours and hours of fun with it. My only major problem with this item over here is that, quite simply, it is not value for money. It is, in my opinion, very, very expensive for essentially what it is, a sequential shifter. For that price, 450 euros, I was expecting the moon and the stars. but I just got the Moon. It does do everything it says on the box. You know, I can definitely feel there is a click. You know, saying that you can feel the gears click into place, I think it's a little bit of a stretch, but there's definitely that mechanical feeling you get, and you feel like you're using a sequential shifter. I love the buttons. You know, the buttons are amazing, and I love the fact that you can, you know, have two inputs on the same button, a short press and a long press. It's great. But that's the problem. My favorite thing about this shifter should not be the buttons. It should be the shifter itself, you know. I do think for 200 euros less, if you spend 300 euros, you can have a very, very similar experience, or possibly even a better experience, by buying another sequential shifter and going a different route. Now, I mean, just think about it. You can buy something like this Mecha Evo, or, you know, another shifter. I'm not saying go and buy this, but you will actually have 200 euros left to spend on a dedicated button box if the buttons are something that is important to you. And that button box is going to look fantastic on your rig, you know. So, I just think if I could do it all over again, you know, that is kind of what I would do. I would rather buy, you know, something like this Mecha Shifter. In fact, go and look at my review. Here's my review. Watch this video next of this Mecha Shifter. Is it perfect? No, but for the price, it's very, very near perfect. Anyway, as always, I hope your next race is a winner. Hallelujah.